much for tuning in to the KTH 910 AM interview of the week, and I hope you are doing well. My name is Dave Palmer, the host of this program, executive director of this beautiful station. We're glad you're listening, and also happy that Cecil Anderson is here. She is our wonderful production assistant, and she is running the board today flawlessly, I am certain. And we have a returning guest coming on, and also he has brought two of his friends and colleagues with him, and this is a very, very important topic, and it's something that I try to get my head around, but I'm glad we have the experts in the room. My principal guest is Andrew Gill. He is founder and executive director of the Theocentric Guild, and he also is a certified fertility care practitioner, and with him are Lindsay Sinclair, who is a fertility care practitioner, and JP Cortez as well, who is a fertility care practitioner. They practice the Creighton model, and the main topic we're talking about today is the introduction of a new Theocentric Fertility Care Center that started up this past summer and is going strong now, and these are the three movers and shakers for this care center. And so welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
Dave. All right, so Andrew, before we get into the care center in particular, tell us about, and I know we've interviewed you about the Theocentric Guild, the purpose, mission of it in itself, even outside or separate from the news about the fertility care center. What's your purpose and mission with the Theocentric Guild?
Sure, Dave. The Theocentric Guild has basically been established in 2012. And we've gone through a development, and our mission is to renew the sacred in society. We do this by providing programs that promote the integrity of the human person through education, creativity, wellness, and charitable outreach. So, for example, we provide seminars for people on health, wellness, and healing. We actually have a coffee bar as well, so for espressos, for enjoying that while listening to a seminar. We also offer consultations for businesses in a God-centered way. We also offer art workshops that are very God-centered and have Catholic themes to them as well. And then we also have this program, the Fertility Care Center, that is a new program of our organization. The only other thing that we really do is we also have charitable outreaches. So we support organizations like Genesian Ministries, the Thespian Catholic group.
Yes.
And we help fund them, as well as we are right now in a campaign, helping a Montessori school in Belize.
Oh, wow.
So occasionally we do charitable outreach depending on our relationships with people.
So sounds like the overall spiritual, physical wellness of the human person would be the overarching kind of purpose of the Theocentric Guild. Would that be right?
That's right.
Okay.
We really want to promote the dignity of the human person.
All right. And all with our Catholic faith and teachings in mind. So absolutely beautiful. The website, by the way, theocentricguild.com. So one of the very important things and the focus of this interview is the new Theocentric Fertility Care Center. And, of course, we're going to bring Lindsay and JP into the conversation here in a moment. But tell us about that. What's the elevator speech answer of what is this and what's its purpose?
Sure. Our Theocentric Fertility Care Center is really focused on improving the quality of family and wellness in a God-centered way. It helps to be able to appreciate fertility and help couples as well as women to learn how to chart the cycle so that they can understand and appreciate their fertility, as well as make fertility decisions regarding achieving or avoiding pregnancy based on their needs.
Yes. I want to ask Lindsay and then JP a little bit about yourself, why this particular practice or this discipline, I guess you could say, is important to you. Why do you have a passion for this? And why, Lindsay, you can go first. What is it about this topic and issue and care for fertility that really interests you so much?
So I've been teaching it 8 years, but I've used Creighton our whole marriage, which is coming on to 16 years. I have a 4-year-old, 8-year-old, and 12-year-old, and it is so interesting. It empowers the woman to know if she's fertile or not. And we can catch health problems in their early stages. So you have the chance to be proactive and go to the doctor if something shows up on your chart that could be medically significant. And so I enjoy teaching the couples so much in the Fort Worth area primarily.
Yeah, and I should mention that. You said that before we started. Lindsay is mostly helping couples with fertility issues in Fort Worth, and then JP is from North Dallas and covering kind of the Dallas diocese. I love that one of you is a male and one is a female because it really highlights the fact that this isn't just a women's issue. This is an issue of health. It's an issue of procreation. So, JP, kind of the same question I asked Lindsay. Why are you interested in this topic?
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. This is Creighton model system is pro-couple, pro-woman, and pro-man.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I were suffering infertility, and when we wanted to discover what was happening to us, we never had an answer.
Yeah.
Every time we went to an quote-unquote infertility doctor, all he or she had to say is, "Oh, everything is fine, but you guys should do the IVF, in vitro fertilization." Mm-hmm. And we started reading up on this, and, IVF is abortive, so that's it. It was a no-no for us. And then talking to a priest about this, he said, well, check into NaProTECHNOLOGY and the Pope Paul VI Institute. And I went to Amazon and looked for a NaProTECHNOLOGY book. I bought it. And myself as an engineer, my jaw literally went all the way down with all the research and the scientific work that Dr. Thomas Hillios has done at the Pope Paul VI Institute. And with the Creighton model fertility care system and NaProTECHNOLOGY, you can discover what's happening. What is causing infertility, because infertility is not a sickness, it's a symptom of one or many sicknesses. And for me as a man, this was fantastic because the book is NaProTECHNOLOGY, the revolution of the women's menstrual cycle. So a man talking about a menstrual cycle, I was like, and then when I found out about the Creighton model system and that you can become a teacher, a practitioner of teaching this system, I was like, man, I have to do this because every woman has the right to learn about this. And many call me gynecologist. I tell them, no, I'm not a gynecologist because I'm a man. I'm an engineer, but I became a practitioner.
Yeah, and I'm going to come back to Andrew in a second, but Lindsay, I want to ask you, JP and I were talking before the interview, and he told me that the training to become certified as a fertility care practitioner up in Omaha was, he said it was challenging. He even said, boy, it was as challenging as getting his engineering degree. And so this isn't like a couple weekends where you go and read a couple books and hear a couple talks. This is pretty intense. Tell us about your own training and what qualifies you to do what you do for couples today.
So it was an 18-month training, very flexible for women who have children. So we would go to class, and then a lot of it is at home during whatever time is convenient for you, and then turn in your papers to your teachers. And we had wonderful speakers. It was very difficult at the end to finally pass the class. And so
but you did.
Definitely a sense of, yes, I did. Yeah. Definitely a great sense of accomplishment after going through that and just learning so much. It's a wonderful, wonderful system.
And Andrew, so now you've got yourself certified in these two highly trained fertility care practitioners. You've got the Theocentric Fertility Care Center up now about a half a year. I'm sure getting the word out is extremely important. What is your message to people out there? Maybe people are about to get married or have been married, and they, what exactly is the message today that you want people to know about this fertility care center?
But Dave, the reason I got into it was because as I'm a professional counselor as well as a fertility care practitioner, and when I saw what a need there was in marriage for better communication skills and discussing, decisions together, I saw how effective, learning about the woman's body and understanding fertility and appreciating that, how that influenced the conversations that couples had. So I think that a lot of couples, if especially in their fertility time, it can be very beneficial for them to enhance their relationship and have good conversations, and it can improve the quality of their relationships. But outside of that, as I've been educating in the Creighton model, I've learned that there's a lot of gynecological issues that go unaddressed. And I think that a lot of women, when they learn about their cycle, they start realizing not only about maybe some gynecological issues that are happening, like postmenstrual syndrome can be, impacted by, doing some progesterone treatment at the end of the cycle. And that can relieve symptoms of postmenstrual syndrome. As well as there are other factors that may come into play. Outside of that, Dave, I feel that, like, every person that I have actually served, whether it's male or female, have had light bulbs go off, in their mind, and in that sense of, a new understanding of their bodies and appreciation of their bodies. And I found that it actually builds women's confidence to know about their body, and it also helps men to, like, have a greater respect for women. So I think that those are all things that kind of our Theocentric Fertility Care Center wants to get the knowledge out there, so that this dignity of the human person can be promoted in our culture.
We're talking about the new Theocentric Fertility Care Center with the Theocentric Guild. My guests are Andrew Gill, the founder, executive director of the Theocentric Guild, and himself a certified fertility care practitioner, along with Lindsay Sinclair and J.P. Cortez, both fertility care practitioners working for the Theocentric Fertility Care Center. And, J.P., Andrew was just talking about the need for knowledge, and I always use this example of, you round up 100 people at the mall, just random people of different ages, and you say, how many of you have heard of NaProTECHNOLOGY? I'd be surprised if 2 have. How many of you have heard of IVF? Probably 90%. And so you guys are on this gold mine of information what all couples need to know, but very few people know it. Is that one of the purposes that you just education for something like what you guys are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I really think the Creighton Model Fertility Care System and NaProTECHNOLOGY are the best kept secret of our Catholic Church. And it's sad because the woman deserves to know who she is. And, we have been created as image and likeness, right? But if we don't know our bodies, how our bodies work, we don't get closer to that. We don't bond with God as we should when we know ourselves. And you're absolutely correct. Not many women know about this, and that's why we are here, and that's why we would like to spread the word, because this is not just for spouses. There are teenagers, right? That are suffering. There are single women. There is religious sisters that are suffering these. And unfortunately, when they go to mainstream gynecologists, they get the magic pill.
Yeah.
And I know many Hispanics that go, with their arms crossed to a doctor, and the doctor said, well, here you go, take the pill.
Yeah.
And, because their faith, they have heard, thanks to be God, that they have heard that the pill and all those hormonal contraceptives are bad, but because it's the doctor who's prescribing to them, they're like, okay, I'll take them.
Yeah.
And that's a shame, because the pill doesn't cure anything.
Yeah.
It's it's destroying the health, and not many know about, the beauty of NaProTECHNOLOGY and how any gynecological and reproductive issue can at least be cured.
Yeah. How does this...
well, if I could say
yes.
as well, many engaged couples will learn this method not knowing later in life that they need NaProTECHNOLOgy if they're an engaged couple and later find out they have a fertility issue. Or we can help, something will come up later in life, we can help with cysts, we can spot that on a chart. So it's so good for the single people, the married people, but the engaged couples as well who will use it later in life.
Yeah. And when you say just about every couple needs this, even from a practical standpoint in their marriage, I know my wife and I had a period of infertility where we actually went and sought out somebody that was trained in NaProTECHNOLOgy. It was a huge help to us. And I want to ask you, Lindsay, about how this works. Somebody's listening right now. They've been married for a year, and they're like, oh, thank God these folks are out here. Thank God for the Theocentric Fertility Care Center. What do they do? I mean, I know you go to parishes. Do you do one-on-one with couples, or what do people do?
So you can go to the website, theocentricguild.com,
right?
Yes. And sign up for a class, but I advertise in bulletins as well. And so the first is an introductory class for every couple, and then it's one-on-one training every couple of weeks at first. And so we are a method that really holds your hand and teaches very thoroughly how to chart, and then if you have any issues, then you will be referred to doctors. But we are the ones who teach the charting.
Okay. And Andrew, I know in March 16th, there's an introductory session for natural family planning. This is a group. Tell us about that.
Sure, Dave. The introductory session basically helps to start the process so you don't begin charting until you've come to an introductory session. Then after the introductory session, you can actually decide whether you want to do a follow-up or not. And so basically 2 weeks before our follow-up, we will distribute supplies, which will basically be a chart and a manual that will help with the education process. And then we go and we have the first follow-up, and then there are actually 8 follow-ups over the course of the year, and they're just distributed over the year to kind of help the process of correcting the chart, helping clarify observations, the observation routine, accountability, and just being able to understand the process. And so that's why this introductory session is really helpful. Quite frankly, I think that even if a person is not going to chart, they could come to that introductory session just to be able to share it with other people as well.
They will learn a lot of stuff they've never heard.
Is it a free session?
It is free.
Okay. Now, what about cost going forward? Is this something that you just go to the website and find out about the cost, or is there anything you want to mention about that?
So basically, for right now, we actually have a different cost system, and we're willing to work with people. So for right now, it would be best to just contact us, and we'll inform at that time about the cost.
Theocentricguild.com. You can find all the information there. My guests, Andrew Gill, Lindsay Sinclair, JP Cortez, all with the new Theocentric Fertility Care Center. And I think, JP, one of the things that's cool about this, in our culture today, there's a trend for organic things, natural things, and getting away from chemicals and pesticides and all that. This is absolutely natural, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing chemical or artificial about this.
Nothing. In fact, NaProTECHNOLOGY stands for Natural Procreative Technology. So, some of the work that NaProTECHNOLOGY does is to work with bioidentical hormonal support. And that's very important because when people are prescribed with the pill, they say, oh, yeah, those are hormones. No, they're not. They're artificial hormones. Totally different, bioidentical hormones, right? And indeed, you're absolutely correct. I bet you bet my life on it that there are many women out there that take organic products, but they're taking the pill like if it's an aspirin.
Yeah. I was thinking it's like, I brush my teeth, I take the pill. I mean, as a woman, Lindsay, what would you say to women out there who might be listening to Catholic radio and they're taking the pill and never thought there was anything wrong with it?
Right. Well, many couples think that it'll be smooth sailing if they contracept. It's so convenient. But I really admire the couples who are having difficulty, who have anxiety using any of the natural family planning methods, but they pick themselves up again and try the next month. I get joy knowing I'm following Jesus rather than smooth sailing, deviating from God's plan. There's so many. I just had a couple, and the husband is a EMT, and he put a lady in the ambulance because she went into shock from the pill. So things that seem harmless, seems like a good idea, have very bad possible side effects.
And probably, go ahead, Andrew.
One of the things that I think is also important to mention, Dave, is that the Creighton model really has, as part of its follow-ups, the procedure for post-pill. So it's actually very sensitive and compassionate to those that are actually wanting to come off the pill. And the cycle takes some time to adjust in that process. So there's actually detailed process for asking questions about that and sensitively addressing that issue as a woman is actually coming off the pill and trying a natural method.
Yeah. I'd hate to do this whole interview without mentioning Paul VI, the man, not just the Institute, and also Humana Vitae. Interestingly enough, that reading that encyclical was what, the scales fell from my eyes, and even though I don't have a real medical background, I just read it and thought, wow, this is truth, and this is just amazing. And now Paul VI has been canonized, and he's saint. And any comments on that? And anybody listening, if you haven't heard of Humana Vitae, it's an encyclical that came out in 1968 on human life and talked about the church's teaching on contraception, and really one of the most beautiful and controversial encyclicals of all time, and it continues to be challenged. And so anything, JP, you want to say about that?
So Pope Paul VI was great. I mean, he was a human person, but with a soul, right? And I like the theocentric because it's, as Andrew said at the beginning, it's not just a person, but that person has a soul, and it's the entire body that you have to take care. So what Pope Paul VI said was that the conjugal love is unitive and procreative, right? And if we take apart from the spouses, if the spouses take away that, we go away from getting closer to God. And I think we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Who we are. I think the problem nowadays in our society is that we don't know who we are.
Yeah.
And as more as we know, and the church is great on that. I always joke to the people I serve with this teaching is that nor the church, not any practitioner, we are not bed police, BED police. Right? We are not. What we want you is to get closer to God.
Yeah.
Okay. And for couples, intimacy, it's a way to demonstrate, to donate ourselves, right? Like all the theology of the body, right? To donate ourselves to greater love, to get closer to God. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And as Lindsay and Andrew have talked about the pill is destroying that.
Yeah.
And it's not just a pill. Right? We have the shot, we got the Nuva ring, we got all those type of things that, if I can comment on that, I always make this analogy on what is the artificial hormones. Right? What happens if to your car, instead of putting motor oil, you put cooking oil? What's going to happen to that?
Destroys it.
Yeah. So what happens if to a woman, instead of giving her a bioidentical hormones at the appropriate time, you give her that plague of the artificial hormones.
Yeah, not to mention the cancer and all the other health effects. I wanted to kind of focus on what you all have kind of mentioned. Lindsay said, I just want to follow Jesus. The theocentric guild, Andrew, this is centered on God, and I just love that. And kind of playing off what they've already said, that's really the focus, is to bring people to God and His intention for the human person.
Human sexuality is so precious. If only we knew that there's so many things we wouldn't do. And Andrew?
Yeah, I'd like to also mention just about the Pope Paul VI Institute, which is where Dr. Hilgers developed the Creighton model. And one of his inspirations was Humanae Vitae. So he was inspired to do his own research and to dive into understanding the woman's cycle, which is a mystery in and of itself. And so that process to me, like, one of the things that I got into this field, I didn't have to get in this field. I'm a professional counselor. I have services. I basically added this to things that I do. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I did that is because I saw such a need in our society, and not just for the Catholic community. I think that there's such a need for this to be spread throughout our society, of awareness of women's fertility and appreciation of it. In our society, women are not truly appreciated. And so basically when we were creating this theocentric fertility care center, we know that God is part of that process, that we can appreciate women fully when we also see their dignity as daughters of God, and as, for the men that are involved in couples, as sons of God.
Yes.
So that's really important for us.
Yeah, the new Theocentric Fertility Care Center is up and running, and I have in studio with me Andrew Gill, Lindsay Sinclair, and JP Cortez. And we're down to our last few minutes now, and so I want to just open it up. I always say that I don't want anybody walking out of the studio saying, I wish he had asked me this. So this is your time now to just say whatever you want that I haven't already asked. Lindsay?
Okay, so I have something to contribute about the couples who have used any of the natural family planning methods, and it can be a significant cross. And with the cross, you can collapse, or you can carry it, and it can make you stronger, or you can put the cross down and deviate from God's plan. So some situations could make natural family planning difficult. It's not always convenient. So we all three are here to encourage all of those couples to keep going and to help you practice natural family planning any way that we can.
All right. Anybody else? And I know the action point is, of course, we want you to come to the introductory session for Natural Family Planning Creighton Model Seminar, March 16th. 10 o'clock. You can find information about that, theocentricguild.com. Anything else, Andrew?
Yeah, in summary, the Theocentric Fertility Care Center believes in providing services that promote the dignity of women, couples, and also encouraging responsible parenthood. Our center promotes the integrity of human person through education, wellness, and being an ally with professionals who use the natural procreative technology that is NaProTECHNOLOgy. So we're family friendly, we're affordable, much more so than something like IVF, and we're also very accessible, with being in Fort Worth, being in Dallas, being in the mid-cities. I'm in the mid-cities, so that it basically provides accessibility for anybody in the Metroplex.
Very nice. JP, last word?
I would like to say that NaProTECHNOLOgy does not exist if the Creighton Model Fertility Care System exists. In other words, those who are listening us and would like to take advantage of NaProTECHNOLOgy, of the medical side of these, is that they have to learn the Creighton Model Fertility Care System. And that's what we teach. We teach them so they can learn there are different biological markers through a standardized terminology, so they can go to a NaProTECHNOLOgy doctor. And luckily in the DFW area, we have two doctors. We have doctors in Houston and in the Pope Paul VI Institute. And also, insurance covers this.
Oh, that's
so many that are listening us right now, they wonder about that. No, insurance covers this.
Oh, that's good to know, because, yeah, you got to be concerned about the bottom line financially, too. All right, that's we are out of time. If people want to contact you, can they contact you through the website? Is there,
that's right.
Okay, so just here's the important thing to know, theocentricguild.com, and we have been talking about the new Theocentric Fertility Care Center, which is up and running now. My guests have been Andrew Gill, founder and executive director of the Theocentric Guild, and also two wonderful fertility care practitioners. If you are in the Tarrant County, the Fort Worth area, Lindsay Sinclair is who you want to talk to, and then the Dallas area, JP Cortez. So thanks to all of you, and also you can contact Andrew, right? You're right in the mid-city. He's right in the middle of everybody. All right, thanks to each of you for being in. It's been very educational, and I hope many people contact you and learn more about your services.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
And thanks, Cecil Anderson, also, and thank you for listening. If you have any ideas for future programs, you know where to reach me, Dave Palmer at grnonline.com. God bless you. Have a great weekend.